Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Today I Found Out, and in the video today we're answering a viewer question. B. Halpin asks, 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of water, so what is 0 degrees Fahrenheit? And who came up with Celsius and Fahrenheit? Firmly entrenched in American society, the seemingly capricious nature of the Fahrenheit temperature scale could lead one to think that its Dutch inventor, Daniel Fahrenheit, pulled the number for the freezing point of water in Fahrenheit out of his hat. It's 32 degrees, by the way. But in fact, its designation, as well as that of 0 Fahrenheit, were precisely, for the early 18th century, calculated based on deliberate choices about how to establish fixed points of temperature. Engineer, physicist, and glassblower Fahrenheit from 1686 to 1737 decided to create a temperature scale based upon 3 fixed temperature points: that of freezing water, human body temperature, and the coldest point that he could repeatedly cool a solution of water, ice, and a kind of salt, ammonium chloride, to. It is generally thought he chose these 3 points based on an older temperature scale created by Ole Christiansen Romer from 1644 to 1710, 20 years earlier. Under Romer's system, brine, the salt-ice water mixture, freezes at 0 degrees, water at 7.5 degrees, normal human body temperature was 22.5 degrees, and water's boiling point was 60 degrees. Desiring to make calculations easier, i.e. produce fewer fractions, and to increase the precision of the scale by increasing the number of distinguishable parts within it, granularity, Fahrenheit decided to multiply each value by a factor of 4, and he set to work. According to his published article on the subject, he started with the brine and a blank thermometer. He then assigned the point where the thermometer was the lowest as 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, he placed the thermometer in still water just as ice was beginning to form, and eventually assigned this 32 degrees Fahrenheit. He then measured human body temperature and assigned this 96 Fahrenheit. He ultimately chose these two numbers as opposed to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, 7.5 times 4, and 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 22.5 times 4, in no small part due to the fact that the 64 degrees between the 2 points made marking lines on the thermometer easier due to the 6 equal intervals. As water at sea level and standard atmospheric pressure boils at about 212 degrees Fahrenheit in the original scale, 180 degrees above its freezing point, this number was eventually defined as the scale's exact boiling point of water. This more precise definition ultimately forced a slight adjustment of normal body temperature to about 98 degrees Fahrenheit from 96 degrees. Of course, normal body temperature is a bit of a misnomer here, with it varying from person to person, and even varying quite a bit in an individual based on a variety of factors such as time of day, age, etc., commonly ranging from about 97 to 99 degrees. As for the Celsius temperature scale, it has been around for almost as long as Fahrenheit, but it wasn't nearly as widely used as today until the conversion of most of the world to the metric system in the 1960s and 1970s. Anders Celsius from 1701 to 1744 was also a physicist as well as an astronomer and a mathematician. Interested in atmospheric sciences, in 1742 Celsius published his findings that the freezing point of water was independent of latitude, something previously debated, and he also developed a consistent method of calculating the boiling point of water as barometric pressure changed. To accommodate his findings, bring even more rationality to measuring temperature, and avoid negative numbers, Celsius designed his own temperature scale and assigned 100 degrees Celsius as the freezing point of water and 0 degrees as its boiling point at sea level. And no, I didn't just misspeak there. Celsius' colleague from Uppsala University, Carl Linnaeus, of the famous taxonomy, is reputed to be responsible for reversing these numbers. Specifically, in the 1730s, Linnaeus built an orangery, a kind of conservatory originally erected to grow citrus fruits in Uppsala. In order to maintain the proper temperature for his exotic plants, he needed an accurate thermometer, which he ordered from the Swedish instrument maker Daniel Ekstrom. It was delivered in December of 1745, and in a contemporaneous publication, Linnaeus noted that our thermometer shows 0 at the point where water freezes and 100 degrees at the boiling point of water. As this is the earliest record of having switched the degrees to the modern form, Linnaeus is often given credit for the idea. And now for a bonus fact. Up until the latter half of the 20th century, it was much more common to say centigrade rather than Celsius, with centigrade deriving from the Latin centum, meaning 100, and gradus, steps, therefore meaning 100 steps. This officially switched in 1948, partially due to confusion between many other uses of centigrade in various languages, such as French, where it is used as a name for a unit of angular measurement. However, many did not immediately switch to using Celsius right away. For instance, the BBC continued to use centigrade all the way until the mid-1980s on their weather reports, before finally relenting and going with Celsius. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Do not forget to subscribe. We've got brand new videos just like this every day of the week. Also, check out some videos from the archives over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.